do you need to leave Alberta before you're 18?
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Zahn.
This is Anthony Telford.
You're listening to The Walk-Off with Scott Belford and Adam Mack.
All right. Very excited to be joined by fellow comedian, host of Cerveza City on YouTube, former catcher for the Kamloops Wolfpack. He played collegiate ball. He's from a baseball family that have all played or have ties to the WCBL, Western Canadian Baseball League, the Okotoks Dogs in particular. Welcome to the show, Juan Forno.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Finally.
What an intro, eh, bud?
It's complete. That was beautiful. That felt great. Yeah, you nailed it. I'm glad you didn't bring up any career stats because that would have been the end of this.
No. We didn't want to put you on the spot there with where exactly you ranked, right? No, I wouldn't do that to you, bud.
That's not relevant.
Hey, can I just interject?
Well, you're all cozy on your bed there. That's great.
Can I ask one question? Did I hear that correctly? Juan, did you play in Kamloops for the Wolfpack?
Yeah, I played at TRU for a couple months.
That's awesome. I'm from Kamloops. That's why I ask.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I was
Go Wolfpack.
Go Wolfpack. That's right.
All right, I'll leave you to be. Go ahead.
All right, buddy. Let's just delve right in here, and let's start with the fact that there's some really good baseball and some really good players that have come out of Western Canada, and a lot of folks around here don't even know about it. So let's start with the WCBL, the Western Canadian Baseball League, which is the highest level of baseball in the West, right?
In Alberta. There's like a Premier League in BC that's probably considered a little bit better, but same idea, same draw with college players, and it's dope. It's some really good baseball, comparable to I would say like single A ball.
Yeah,
for the most part, yeah.
So, out of curiosity, then walk us through the process to play in the WCBL. Like they're pulling players from college, correct?
Yeah. So essentially, like you have your college team where you're there from September to May, and then you got your summer team, and that's where the WCBL comes in. And they play there for the summer if they don't get drafted.
Right. And you're from a baseball family, which is like kind of rare in Canada. The amount of people you can count that had a dad that played high level hockey, and then all the sons do, lots of them, dime a dozen. Not so much with baseball. Your dad from Guatemala, a country where soccer rules supreme. What is it with the Fornos and the love of baseball?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like only my immediate family outside with like my uncles and stuff is all soccer. But yeah, my dad just fell in love with baseball. He played in Texas. He'll tell you all about that. He still tells us all about that. Writes about his stats in high school.
Yeah.
And then, I moved to Canada, and, everyone except for my older brother played competitively. So I played up until TRU and then just do some men's league stuff now. My younger brother played dogs all throughout and then played in the WCBL and San Antonio and Kansas. And then the youngest is in his senior year of high school playing for the Dogs right now.
So then tell us how the dog system works, because there's different rankings throughout it before you're actually playing in the WCBL, correct?
Right. So they have like their high school program as well. So I think you get going at like 14, 15. Not to brag, but I was a part of the inaugural Okotoks Dogs when they moved out there for the first season. OG Okotoks Dog. And, yeah, so you just kind of work your way up. There's, I believe, 3 high school teams now. And you just like the younger, oldest. And then you go off and play in college. And if you're good enough, they'll bring you back to play summer ball. I was not. Dallas was also not. Dallas was good enough to play in the WCBL, but for Brooks. So,
right.
Yeah. And we all know about Brooks and what that town's all about.
And now the youngest brother, Brody, he's where all the hope lies, right?
Yeah, that's the last chance. That's the last shot. My dad tried to live vicariously through all of us, hoping we'd all make it. And the last chance is Brody. He has the best chance, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a pitcher as well as Dallas, correct?
Yeah, Dallas was a pitcher and only a pitcher since he was like 13. Like you could not find a worse hitter in the face
Right.
of the planet. Brody does it all. Brody plays shortstop, center field, pitches,
Right.
fairly athletic. He got height somehow. He got to be like 6'4".
Yeah, because you have the body of a catcher.
That's the nicest way anybody's ever called me fat before. That.
Thanks, buddy. I really worked on that wording. Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, I'm like a thick, stout individual.
So Dallas, he also played collegiate ball, but he played down in the States a bit, correct?
That's right. Yeah, so he did 2 years at San Antonio. Oh, I can't remember what the school is called, but it was a Christian school. I remember them being called the Saints.
Right.
But I can't remember exactly what school it was. And then he played at Tabor College in Kansas his last 2 years.
Did you go down and see him at any time?
Nah, I don't have enough to do that.
Yeah. Was it good
no.
ball?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
good ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe NCAA Div 2 or NAIA maybe.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. And
Very, very
had you stuck with, like, your biggest problem is once you got in with kamloops, your love of the game kind of dissipated a bit, or how did that work out? What made you just kind of be like, I'm out?
I wouldn't say it dissipated. I still love the game and loved playing and loved everything about playing with the college team. I wasn't mature enough to be a student athlete. I just wanted to be an athlete. So, hence the comedy career now.
Yeah, so you could party with the best of them then. That wasn't your concern. No, yeah.
No, hence the Race of City, right? I'm now a professional alcoholic.
Now you're a professional partier, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love the game, and it was just a matter of being on my own for the first time and not being mature enough to handle the necessities of being a adult. To wake up and go to class when I could sleep in without anybody telling me that was wrong. But they don't work out.
They're fine with you playing on the team, but they don't like seeing all those absences at the classes, I'm guessing, eh? Yeah.
Right. They're very strict too. Like they had like a no tolerance for missed classes. Like we had to submit a attendance report every week if we wanted to play on the weekend. Like we couldn't miss class. Obviously there were like some exceptions, but if you were just skipping class, then you didn't get to play that weekend.
I'm curious, buddy. As a catcher, obviously, did you ever jaw at the batters a bit? And what's some of the like best smack talk you've ever heard at first base or behind the plate?
I don't know. Like, yeah, a little bit, but only to people I didn't like. My favorite thing to do was sing. I would sing to the batters, and just like the like Katy Perry and Taylor Swift and just like the weirdest shit. And for some reason, it helped me kind of relax. So I was better at framing. I was more relaxed throwing down to second if there was a runner stealing. I don't know, stealing just like or singing calmed my mind.
Did it annoy batters too?
Yeah, they hated that shit.
They hated it.
Yeah, they hated it. I don't know if there's any other catcher ever to do that. And I didn't do it like all the time, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you just get a Katy Perry song stuck in your head and you got to get it out when you're catching a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I don't know.
Yeah. So your brothers both pitchers. You've only caught for Dallas once, correct?
Yeah, that would be correct. One time. Then that was.
If you can, I know we were out drinking one night and you told the story, and I just loved it. If you could kind of give the listeners a little snippet of that.
Yeah, so Calgary has a men's league team in the FMBA. So it's essentially college players that are not good enough to make it into the WCBL, don't have or too old to play in like the high school league, or players that used to play in college and still want to play for fun. So it's still very competitive baseball. And Dallas was home for the summer. I believe his Brooks season had just finished, and he had like a 1 to 2 week window where he was still around. And so he came and pitched for us. And everybody expected him to do incredible because he was this kid pitching in the States. He was like in his third year, just came out of like the WCBL season. And the first pitch he threw got hit about 450 feet in dead center. So like just crushed. I personally have never hit a baseball that hard.
Right.
I don't think anybody else has ever hit a baseball that hard off of him, but it was the funniest thing ever. And he ended up giving up like 9 runs. Like he got lit up.
He came in expecting to just be able to throw fastballs down the pike and just blow it past people, eh?
Yeah, 100%. He was like, "What did you there?" So did I, because like first pitch, I just called a fastball down the middle.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just get ahead in the count, get me over strike, and we were wrong. We were very wrong. Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a misconception with baseball in Alberta in general, is that there are a lot of really good players. And I think we're starting to see it even with guys like Mike Soroka and stuff like that coming out of the dog system and coming out of Alberta and going pro. So I'm curious then, like, how many guys, like, I guess the question is, do you need to leave Alberta before you're 18? Or can you, there's enough groundwork here, you don't need to worry about it, correct?
Nowadays, you don't, man. You really, really don't. Nobody is as good as the dogs at getting high school players down to the States. A big part of that is all the coaches either played down there or were drafted, and they have those connections. Or they're bringing coaches up from the States to coach these high school players. The best thing you can do as an Alberta player is play for the dogs. If you're good enough and you have the work ethic and the drive, and unfortunately the money is a part of it as well.
Yeah.
Just cheap. But that's with any high end sports program. They'll get you down there, man. They're sending players to USC, Oregon, all these major Div 1 schools. So you don't have to leave Alberta. And to the point now where there are players from Ontario and Newfoundland and the East Coast that are coming to Okotoks for a better opportunity to further their baseball career.
That's incredible. And the facilities are right on par as well, correct? Like they've really put a lot of work into.
Yeah, the facilities are incredible, man. We got to go and watch a game next year. Unfortunately, there was no season this year, but
yeah,
they put millions and millions into the main stadium. They got like the full concourse. They built it based off of, I believe it's the Marlins spring training facility in Florida. So it's very, very similar. I could be wrong, but they definitely modeled it after somebody's spring training facility. And the great thing, like the benefit that they have over any other program in Canada, like our biggest challenge is the weather, right?
Right, of course. Yeah, California, shortened season. Yeah, April sucks. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go down to like California and Texas, they can play all year. Now the dogs have this indoor facility with a full infield, like 3-4 batting cages, a weight room, so they can do all the stuff for the most part that all these other kids can do down there, and they're still getting their work in year round, as opposed to that 4-month window that we get in Canada. It makes all the difference in the world. So that facility is fantastic. They have I believe a bantam field across the street, and then they have like the high school field. So there's like Siemens Stadium, and then there's Tourmaline Field, which is like a mini Siemens Stadium.
Yeah.
Turf infield, which is so nice. It's fantastic. The facilities are incredible.
So another big advantage to the dogs is, and I mean, especially if you look at baseball in Alberta over the last decade, because you go back 10 years ago and it wasn't even close to where it was. And some of the biggest advancements has been the dogs and their ability to have kind of inroads into the States, and that pro ball kind of has them on the radar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows in the baseball community who the Dogs are. You know, these players that are being brought up in the summer to play in the WCBL, you know, they come back and they're like, holy crap, like this was the best summer ever. You know, not only is it a beautiful facility, there's always thousands of fans at every single home game. You know, it's a really special, crazy environment, um, which is great. And they do have that pipeline to the States. You know, like I said, these players are signing at all these major Div 1 schools that used to be a pipe dream for a Canadian kid. Like
Right.
you never heard of a Canadian kid signing with Oregon State Beavers. Now I think they got like 3 Dogs players committed there.
That's amazing.
Is incredible. And these kids are playing on Team Canada, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
So we're going to take a left turn here. I know we were up in Valley View on Wednesday. We are doing Distillery City there where I'm hosting, and we kind of go distillery to distillery. So we were in Edson and then Valley View, and we checked out Krabby Goat, correct, in Valley View?
Yes.
And so by the end of this, they had laid out like a dozen shots for me to try and stuff. And so on the way home, I was pretty, we'll say not drunk, but okay, we'll say drunk. I was pretty drunk. And I was kind of picking your brain a little bit, and you told a story. So I'm just going to set it up here for you. Have you ever been in a brawl in a baseball game?
I've been in a few, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I was pretty scrappy. I can't remember which one I told you about.
The Montana.
Oh, in Montana, that was a good one. Okay, I'll tell you one other one, and then I'll tell that story. My favorite one was opening day in like when we first opened up Siemens Stadium. There was the red team, which was like the younger high school players. There was a black team, older high school players, and then the college team. And so we all played that day. And the younger team played the other Okotoks team, the Okotoks Outlaws, which was like the Babe Ruth local team. And there was this kid I'll never forget, Cody Ellerby. Me and him hated each other. And I was playing first base that game, and we were talking a ton of shit. And then he punched me in the stomach after the game while we were shaking hands, like as you do in high school ball. He was like trying to be sneaky about it, so he just kind of like sucker punched me in the stomach, and then and then we threw down, which was wild because he was like 4 years older than me and way bigger. But
yeah,
I don't know. I was just a scrappy baseball player where I wasn't gonna back down. We got into a bench clearing brawl in Washington once, and that started during the home run derby, where we were in the outfield shaking balls, and players just started talking shit to each other. And then of course we ended up playing that team in the semifinals.
Yeah.
And I got ejected from that game because I was at bat when the fight broke out at first base, and I just went for their biggest player. And the dude was like 6'4", 280. Like he was fucking massive.
Yeah.
Again, just being scrappy. But then in Montana, Libby Lager Days. You ever get a chance to go to Libby for the Lager Days? It is the trashiest, best weekend you'll ever have. We'll go down
baseball and booze, eh?
Yeah. We'll go down and drink moonshine, and yeah, we I want to say we were in the third place game. Yes, it was the third place game, and we were playing against some other Montana team. Maybe they were an Idaho team. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. I started that game. I got lit up. I probably gave up like 10 runs. We were down by 2. No, we would have been down by 1 in the top of the 7th. Bases loaded, 2 outs, and the guy hits a comebacker to the pitcher. The pitcher is probably the biggest dickhead I've ever played against. He's so arrogant. He's like a less talented Bryce Harper. Like just the level of arrogance and shittiness. So he hits a comebacker to him. Pitcher throws to the catcher for 2 outs. Catcher goes to throw to first base to get the 3rd out. Before the catcher even lets go of the ball, the pitcher is celebrating, fired up, yelling at our bench, swearing, celebrating, whatever. And then the catcher throws to first base, but throws it away. And so we're fired up, and we get in the pitcher's face the entire time, basically on the field, yelling at this guy. We score 2 runs, go up by 1. So they get a chance in the bottom of the 7th. And he was on third base, the tying run with 2 outs, and he tried to steal home. And they got him. Like, it was a very close play. I thought as soon as he broke, we're fucked. He's going to score. We got him. And then he was pissed off and pushed our catcher. And then after that, like, we hated him to begin with. So we were out there. And I remember after everything had been broken up and settled, we weren't allowed to leave this, like, our side of the field in the stadium, because they were like waiting with baseball bats in the parking lot to fight us.
Yeah.
So we were like good 45 minutes waiting for them to leave. And then as we're leaving, the entire town of Libby was at the game cheering for us because they also hated this kid.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah. So they're like giving us high fives because we fought these guys. They're like, who the fuck are the Canadian kids? Yeah.
I love it.
Libby Lager days never gets old, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Another left turn here. Your dad, Pablo Forno, he's actually was named as one of the most top 100 influential people in Canadian baseball, which is incredibly impressive. Yeah. What was it like? What was it like playing ball with him as your dad? Everyone obviously in every system you ever played in knew him. I mean, even when we went out and did the home run derby out in Cheadle there, every player's like, "Oh, you're Pablo's son, right?" What was that like? Was that weird?
I hated it.
You hated it.
I hated it. My dad coached me up until I was about 13 years old. But he wasn't like that typical coach's son. Like, he did not play me if I was not the best player. Like, he did not give me any preferential treatment at all. I remember
You're like 11.
Yeah. I remember playing in the summer games, which is like Alberta's like Olympics or whatever. And it's a sweet week worth of games. There's all the sports come. We were in Red Deer, and my dad was the coach for that. And I had 2 at-bats the entire tournament. Like, he wasn't. And then in the finals, I didn't play in the finals at all. We ended up winning. So
he made the right call.
He was doing the right thing. Right? I was never the kid to get preferential treatment because my dad was the coach, which is funny. But you know what? I think once I kind of learned that, things weren't just going to be handed to me, it was beneficial, obviously.
Yeah.
And then, there was always just that high expectation of, oh, you're Pablo's kid. Like, A, you got to be good at ball. And also, you're Pablo's kid, so don't be an asshole because it'll get back to him. And there were instances where I was an asshole on the field, and it would get back to him, and I would get in trouble.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, he is. But he loves baseball, man. He was, like I said, honorable mention on the top 100 most influential Canadian people in baseball. I mean, whatever that means, it's kind of cool to be on a list with people like, Soroka and Russell Martin and all these Canadian players and influential people for sure. And he reminds us about that all the time too.
He played in Texas, and he's a top 100 guy.
Yeah, and he never lets that go. He's gonna watch this and be like, that asshole. But it was tough. I know for the longest time it bothered me to be referred to as Pablo's kid.
Yeah.
Not my own person.
Right.
But
which I'm guessing is something your brothers had to deal with as well, correct? Or not as much?
I think so too. I've never really talked to them about it, but I would imagine so. Like,
Yeah.
we can't go anywhere in Okotoks and even somewhere in Calgary, like without him knowing somebody, without somebody coming up to him and being like, "Oh, hey, Pablo," and like half the time he doesn't even know who they are. And the joke in the family is he could run for mayor in Okotoks and he would get nominated or elected. No
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, that'd be a terrifying, terrifying instance. Just to consider Mayor Pablo. I don't know if that's good, but
So, as growing up with someone who was so well versed in the game, once it kind of got to the point where, you had to pick a position or whatever, was he guiding you towards one way or the other? Like, was he like, you should be catching, or was he telling Dallas, you can't hit, you obviously should be working on pitching? Like, or did he kind of let you boys just do what you do and wherever you landed, you landed?
yeah, he kind of just let us do whatever we wanted. I was a little bit more stubborn than the rest of them. Um, from like coach pitch, I loved being a catcher, and catcher is the least glamorous position on a baseball field. Like, when people are taking batting practice, you're catching bullpens.
Yeah.
And it's physically demanding to be in that crouch and catching 90-mile-an-hour fastballs all game long. That's why catchers don't get hits the last at bat of the game, because their hands on fire.
Yeah.
So my dad did. I do remember my dad being like, "You should, focus on outfield or pitching," and I just didn't want to. And I wasn't even that good of a catcher. Like, yeah, I was probably a better outfielder, to be honest with you. I wasn't fast, but I took good routes and I could catch everything, and I had a pretty strong arm out there in high school. And then as far as like the other guys go, I don't think Brody had any pressure to play any specific position because he could play them all.
Right.
Play them all. Bit of a jackass for that.
Right.
Dallas was, yeah, I remember the dogs being like, he was probably like 14. And they're like, "You're going to be a pitcher." And I don't think my dad loved the idea of him becoming like a pitcher only at such a young age, but
That
it is.
is young to be like, you can't hit.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he just was never really able to figure it out offensively. And you know what, though? Like, at that age, I think if I could pitch, they probably would have done the same for me. Because I think that year I probably hit like 200. But
Right.
with power, I have power.
With power. Yeah. You've got that catcher's body. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like the Chris Davis of the high school league.
Making way too much money for what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was getting paid in Slurpees and game dogs, stadium dogs. Yeah.
So, with no season this has it been announced? Do you know? I know you've probably got the inside track on this anyways. Like, are the dogs going ahead next season, or is it still a big question mark like everything else?
Yeah, I think it's a big question mark. Like, there was no season for them. Fortunately, there was a men's league season. I don't know how that happened, but
Yeah.
and there was only one COVID test and only one COVID positive test, and he did not spread it to anybody else in the league, including his own team, which is
Impressive.
wild.
Yeah.
But good for the FNBA for pulling that off and getting a season in.
Yeah.
As far as like the WCBL, I don't know. They're probably gonna wait. I think they're planning on having a season.
Hmm.
The only thing with them is there's literally no point for them to have a season if they are not allowed to have fans.
Yeah.
Without fans, they don't. It's not the MLB where they can get by
Yeah.
financially without.
There's no TV rights you're making money off of. That's for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't get that TV money. So hopefully, but we'll have to see. That's a long ways away. The season starts beginning of June, so
Yeah.
that's a good 8 months down the road.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. Well, if it happens, we got to go to a game. I'm excited to check that out with you. Honestly, Juan Forno, thank you so much for joining us here on the Walk Off. Do you have anything you wanted to plug here before we let you go?
I want everybody to know that Scott Belford's biggest credit is the host of Distillery City.
Yeah.
If he's in his other big fancy ones, then that's unacceptable. And you can catch me on shows all across Alberta, opening for the very one and only Scott Belford. So that's exciting.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, November 5th at
Bow River
Brewing. That's right.
November 5th, Bow River. November 12th at City and Country Winery. I'm opening for you. And then hopefully
and Pivot Spirits December 3rd.
And Pivot Spirits December 3rd. And hopefully we'll add 2 more distilleries at the end of November.
That's right.
5 shows in the next month together.
Look at that. We're going to be we won't be doing podcast interviews with each other after this. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Come that 5th show together, you do my jokes and I'll do your jokes.
Perfect. I'd love to open. No.
Telling opening quality jokes. And thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Thank you.
All right, later.